So Afghanistan is turning into a total fiasco. Is this surprising? No. Is this Joe Biden's fault? Also no. Let's talk about it in today's video. Hi, I'm Mike Greiner. I'm a lifelong Democratic activist who's concerned about the direction our country is taking. If you share my concerns, maybe you could like this video and subscribe to this channel, maybe even click that little bell that will notify you when I post something new. So in Afghanistan, the Taliban is preparing a final assault upon Kabul. Does this mean that we've wasted billions of dollars in 20 years and thousands of American dead? Well, that remains to be seen. The real mission that the Americans had in Afghanistan was to catch Osama bin Laden and to make it so that Afghanistan would no longer be a source of terrorism against the United States. Well, of course, we caught Osama bin Laden, and it appears that the Taliban no longer wants to get into fights with the United States. This did not work out so well for them. That being said, the real problem we have in Afghanistan is that once again we had embarked upon this idea of nation building, that our military could somehow go to another country and build a nation much like we have in the United States in some foreign land. That didn't work in Vietnam, that didn't work in Iraq, and it certainly didn't work in Afghanistan. To give President Biden credit, he has actually withdrawn the troops. 3 prior presidents had pledged to do the same, but none of them succeeded. Was it unpleasant seeing Americans quickly abandon a base to make sure that they weren't attacked while they were in the process of leaving? Absolutely. But as President Biden pointed out, and I discussed in a previous video, that was the safest way to do it. If there's a surprise, it's how quickly the Taliban have been able to take over. I mean, we basically spent $88 billion supporting the military and 20 years trying to train them, and in a matter of weeks they fall apart? It's ridiculous. And if anything, it just shows that staying there any longer was a complete waste. At a certain point, you have to cut your losses and move on, and we're certainly well beyond that point. When you look at the history of the Afghanistan war, and again, as always, I'll post links to the videos down below, this was initially just a support mission to assist the Northern Alliance that was fighting the Taliban so that we'd be able to get into Afghanistan, find Osama bin Laden, and basically get rid of Al-Qaeda's posts in that country. Well, that mission succeeded spectacularly because that's the thing that our military is good at. We're good at taking over countries and defeating militaries, which is exactly what we did as we assisted the Northern Alliance. And very quickly, the Taliban showed themselves to be no match for the American military. And over the past 20 years, there have been no match for them. The American military has basically kept the Taliban from taking over Afghanistan, as has been shown by recent events. In 2002, then, President Bush then outlined a new mission for the American troops, and that was rebuilding Afghanistan in a nation the way we wanted it to be rebuilt. That was the critical error there, and it was committed by President Bush, not by a Democrat. The next 19 years have been spent trying to somehow deliver on that promise and then get ourselves out of this situation. President Obama tried a number of approaches. He tried a surge, he tried creating some kind of timeline for withdrawal, and then when he created the timeline for withdrawal, he was criticized. Donald Trump at the time criticized him for making timelines rather than making decisions based upon the situation on the ground. And of course, when Donald Trump came into office then, he couldn't get us out of Afghanistan either. Ultimately, in 2020, Donald Trump signed a deal that basically said the United States is going to be out by May 1st of 2021. This deal that Donald Trump worked out with the Taliban, not involving the Afghan government, by the way, was completely based upon a timeline and not the situation on the ground. Essentially, at that point, Donald Trump said to the Taliban, hey, just wait until we're out, and then you can do whatever you want. Well, this deal put President Biden into a terrible situation. He basically had a choice of turning our backs on the Afghans and leaving, or failing to honor the deal that President Trump had worked out. I think President Biden has attempted to thread the needle as carefully as he could. On the one hand, he has moved to get the United States out of Afghanistan as quickly as possible. On the other hand, he said that we are committed to helping the civilians who assisted the U.S. while we were there to get out of Afghanistan and to migrate to the United States. To me, that's the minimum requirement that we have as Americans. We cannot simply allow the people who assisted us in good faith on the ground in Afghanistan to be left there, essentially to be tortured and killed by the Taliban as they take over. But showing how much it is impossible to turn the Afghan military into anything that is a worthwhile fighting force just demonstrates the fact that us spending any more time or any more money there is a complete waste. Unsurprisingly, we hear calls now from the people who are the cheerleaders for the Afghan war saying we need to stay longer, we need to put more troops into Afghanistan and keep them there. If the failure of the military in Afghanistan isn't proof enough that we just need to get out of there, I don't know what is. Somehow taking the approach that, oh, now sending more troops this time it will be different. It's never different. And of course, I love Donald Trump now criticizing President Biden, saying that this surge by the Taliban is President Biden's fault, after President Trump is the one who negotiated the deal that we're trying to address right now. I think President Biden deserves a lot of credit for the fact that, one, he is getting the U.S. out of Afghanistan after 3 prior presidents, including Donald Trump, failed to do so. And number 2, that he is trying to do it as honorably as possible by respecting our commitments to our allies in Afghanistan. Is it a tragedy that the Taliban's going to be taking over there? Yes, it is. It's certainly not a situation I would prefer. I am well aware of the human rights abuses and the future that is facing the civilians in Afghanistan as a result of the Taliban government. This is a terrible problem, but the reality is it's not our problem. If there's any lesson that we as Americans should have learned through our multiple invasions and attempts at nation building, it's that countries need to build their own nations. We cannot impose a nation upon them. If the country isn't willing to do what is necessary to have a democratic republic like we have, then no amount of effort on our part is going to change that. We have a culture and traditions here in the United States that respect the rule of law and make it such that things like property rights and democracy can flourish here. The fact that those traditions and customs do not exist in a place like Afghanistan make it impossible for us to succeed in the mission that President Bush set for us 19 years ago. Any criticism of President Biden now should acknowledge the fact that he is at least getting us out of this country and not spending any more money or losing any more American lives in support of this mission that clearly, over the long run, is not going to bear any more fruit. Well, if you agree with me or disagree with me, I'd love to hear comments down below. And if you give me a like or a subscription, I'd sure appreciate it. I'll see you in the next video. In the meantime, let's hope for continued progress. Thank you.